Welcome back again to the Imaginary Gallery. We are in the series discussing Sandra Brown's book, and I've covered all the different types of dangerous persons from the book. I thought I would discuss some information out of the last chapters, or one of the last chapters. It's called Signs of a Bad Dating Choice. She, Sandra, which is this book, How to Spot a Dangerous, you know the rest. She states that the preceding chapters have tried to illustrate what the different types of bad dating choices look like. And she'd given a lot of detail about each category of dangerous person, because you cannot acknowledge and change what you do not label and describe. This particular part of her book is designed to offer one more way of labeling and describing the signs of a bad dating choice. These signs represent boundary issues that can inform you about the suitability of a potential date. So, she begins by discussing something very important, which is boundaries. Boundaries and their role in healthy relationships. Boundaries are indicators of where we start and end, she says, and where other people start and end. We set limits, or boundaries, in relationships to protect our bodily selves and our dignity. Good boundaries demonstrate that we have an awareness of what we stand for. They are statements about what we will tolerate. A healthy relationship involves two people with clearly defined senses of their own identities. Neither is trapped in fear of the other person being different from oneself. Neither sees differences as threatening. Healthy boundaries allow us to separate our own thoughts, feelings, and needs from those of the people around us. The lack of an ability to separate these aspects of ourselves from those of others is called enmeshment. Enmeshment occurs when a person begins to take on the thoughts, feelings, and needs of someone else, even when those thoughts, feelings, and needs do not reflect his or her own best interests. It occurs when one person begins to draw his or her, she says, identity from another person. Drawing your identity from a dangerous person, as the stories in this book so dramatically illustrate, can have disastrous outcomes. Giving yourself up for a relationship is a huge sign that you have unhealthy boundaries. Now, of course, we've discussed she's talking to women only, but I'm not. I'm saying this applies to everybody. She's saying that people without boundaries or with weak boundaries often attract all types of dangerous partners. Emotional predators are bloodhounds for weak, boundaried people. It is the hallmark of their snout to find you. And yes, I agree with this one. Emotionally unavailable people count on your inability to send them home to their wives or to send them packing when they prove too busy to truly commit to a relationship with you. Parental seekers and permanent clingers know you lack the internal fortitude to kick them to the curb as they whine and cling. Addicts gamble on your codependency as a way of keeping their foot at your door. A mentally ill person recognizes that you will probably confuse sympathy with love. An abusive or violent person knows darn well that you are probably too afraid of him or her to say what you mean and mean what you say. In these cases, silence equals consent, and staying equals compliance. People with weak boundaries fail to verbalize and take action on what they need. They stay quiet and hope that somehow it'll work out. People with poor boundaries commonly nurse fantasies of healthy relationships that magically don't require any work. But the message your silence sends to a dangerous person is that you consent to its inappropriate behavior. That's why developing good boundaries is so crucial to those who want to avoid dangerous persons. An ability to confront unhealthy boundaries and behavior in the beginning of a relationship can help you determine early on whether a new person is a viable candidate for a healthy relationship with you. Some people with poor boundaries are not passive, weak, or silent. By contrast, they can be aggressive and assertive. Such a person violates his or her man's or woman's boundaries by trying to change its dangerous and annoying behaviors. He or she becomes focused on redirecting this person's misguided ways. Might resort to nagging, suggesting, scolding, moralizing, raging, or threatening, all with the hoped-for outcome that such tactics will result in a positive behavioral change. But of course, that doesn't happen. The behavior of the steamroller person described here is as ineffective as that of the doormat person described above. This kind of unhealthy boundary-violating behavior doesn't change anyone or anything. Boundaries are also important because they're a way for partners to respect each other's private lives and each other's ability to run his or her own life by him or herself. People who get involved with dangerous monsters are at risk for letting their partner have excessive influence over their lives. Boundary violations are great indicators of future relationship problems and should be viewed as pertinent information that is not to be ignored. Now, our boundaries reflect our very selves. Our life choices, friends, career choices, preferences, and dislikes. In healthy relationships, neither party impinges upon these areas of the other's life without an invitation. Boundaries are like gates through which we invite others into certain areas of our lives. If someone crashes your gates without an invitation, you can be sure that person will try to live inside your gates and invade your personal business without invitation. People who are boundary violators by definition feel entitled to run your life. On the surface, a boundary violator may appear to be merely opinionated or over-involved. Sandra says people with chronic patterns of boundary violations are much more than just opinionated blowhards. Some of the types of dangerous people described in this booklet are defined by their habits of violating the boundaries of the targets they get involved with. People could avoid a lot of the dangerous situations they place themselves in if they could only recognize boundary violations by either party as the serious impingements to healthy relationships that they truly are. If a person would recognize that each boundary violation pushes it closer to the edge of tolerating or doing all those things that he or she said would never do or tolerate, things that in the end rob her of her dignity, she might or he might respond to the violations as soon as they begin. Now, as has been previously shown in these stories we've heard, many people can develop quickly a tolerance or an increased tolerance to boundary violations, which can result in what she calls hypertolerance, which is a frame of mind in which abnormal behavior becomes normalized. Each time a boundary is ignored, the line in the sand is erased and is redrawn closer to you. Eventually, you'll have no line to show what you will and will not tolerate. Your no tolerance zone has been reduced to nothing with your consent. And let's not forget what we discussed in another chapter. Boundary violations committed by those who are pathologically disordered can be exceptionally dangerous. The greater the boundary violation, the more it points to chronic and unrelenting pathology in the perpetrator. Dangerously advanced forms of boundary violation include the following, and these are risk factors that should be considered when assessing for psychopathology. Here you go. Here's the list. Threatening to kill anyone or anything. Assault on a pregnant woman. Assault in front of other people. Forced sex in any capacity, even with a known partner. Violation of court orders. Stalking anyone for any reason. Repeat offenses of any of the behaviors on this list. Is physically, emotionally, or sexually rough or weird. Too charming. Has all the right lines. Comes across as excessively smooth. Has a history or previous diagnosis of mental illness, especially untreated depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, conduct disorder, schizophrenia, narcissistic personality disorder, substance abuse, borderline personality disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, has a criminal record, especially repeat speeding violations, DUIs, assault on female, battery of any kind, other assaults, any sexual offense, forgery, bad checks, has deadbeat dad issues, is inflexible, cannot change to meet a spontaneous request, believes the rules are for everyone except him or her, feels or acts like he or she is special and unique.
I was going through my old cell phone because I was about to recycle it, and I came across some old messages of yours that I must not have read before, but they seem to express concern that how dare I date other men behind your back after I made such a big deal about you not even looking at that grocery counter girl. Well, you don't understand. You cannot look, you could not touch, but I can do it all. That is my privilege, because I am entitled. You are not.
You had it easy. You were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. I was born in the gutter, which means the things you're forbidden to do that you want to do, you're still forbidden to do. It means so for me. The things I'm forbidden to do, if I want to do them, well, I'm gonna do them and just not tell you I'm doing them. And you don't need to know that I'm doing them either. Got it? Well, that's clear why we didn't work out. You simply don't understand the way it works. You think that you're so entitled. You're not. Ah, what is wrong with you? Oh, I'm so glad it's over. My new lesbian loves me more than you ever could.
You, if you ever call me Bozo the Clown again, you will be punished.